Hello, Steve here. Welcome to Real Health. Who'd have thought health is about what we're eating? Join me on my quest to disseminate my go-to health regimen, the Health 44, my clumsy branding of eliminating 4 classes of food, introducing 4 classes of micronutrients. Bingo, bongo, health sorted. So thank you for your interest. Let's do this. Welcome again. Who'd have thought, hey? Health is about what we're eating. And most accurate is what we digest, absorb, and what micronutrients we get each and every day and for the rest of our life in a dependable fashion. If you're vegan, carnivore, keto, intermittent fasting, a paleo thing, opportunistic omnivore, and a standard Western diet, standard American diet eater of 70-90%, ultra refined processed foods, well, you better understand micronutrients, because micronutrients are, especially the minerals part of the micronutrients that we require. There's 90 declared essential micronutrients. We need 90 of them, and 60 of them are minerals, and the minerals are pretty much at least 80% depleted in our farming soils. We don't really understand, well, we do understand farm and soil science, but many choose to go down the route of the dollar, economic reasons, to go the GMO route, the hyper production route, even what brought on the Industrial Revolution? The Agricultural Revolution. We effectively increased our yields by something like up to 15-fold, at least 10-fold. And that's why we started getting a boost in world population, because costs came down in producing farming produce. So you've clicked on today, and the unintended lies of the mainstream healthcare complex. The title is something like that, but I'm going to shorten it somewhat, I think. So in my last several episodes, I mentioned the whole Rockerfeller thing, the hostile takeover of medicine by the allopathic medical fraternity. And I believe, more humble, in my humble opinion, because a lot of things I say aren't too humble, but in my humble opinion, Rockerfeller commissioned the Flexner report to gain the best possible area, source of contribution that he could establish a legacy for the world, much like the Carnegies and Nobel Peace Prize, right? The dynamite inventor came up with the Nobel Peace Prize to get away from the destruction side of things, a destruction legacy. So rather than having all those oil barons' legacy, Rockefeller perhaps intended, very likely, to create this legacy of health. And at the time, the state of the world at the time, particularly with the scientific developments that we were witnessing, which is based on Newtonian physics and the way we see the world, it was all physical. It was just after the whole God is dead type Nietzschean a prediction that he placed onto the world. I'm not sure how it took off, but it took off after his death, that whole idea. And Rockerfeller felt that this could be another Nobel type legacy, while contributing his fortune to humanity in a way of health. So if Elon Musk perhaps was to place his fortune, a legacy towards, hey, maybe colonizing Mars and beyond, perhaps, yes, he would go down in infamy, like that Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Science Prize. Why do I call it Peace Prize? Because the Peace Prize is just one element of the Nobel, to be a Nobel laureate. Anyway, I think that's how it goes. But so that's the first unintended lies of the mainstream healthcare complex, the allopathic healthcare complex. Medicine was a bit more holistic back in, when was it, 2017 or 1917, or was the Flexner report 1913? I don't know. Around World War One, perhaps a touch before. In saying World War One and wars, that's where allopathic medicine gets its effectiveness, and wow, the miracles, dental care, the miracles of taking your tooth out with lignocaine, or thank God for lignocaine and local anaesthetic and general anaesthetic for chopping off your limbs and that sort of thing. Thank God for the allopathic medical model. Thank you, medicine as we know it today, but medicine as a whole, it should include your chiropractors, your herbalists, your osteopaths, your naturopaths, which other paths get it. So allopath is a form of medicine, but the allopathic medicine has hijacked medicine as a whole with the help of Rockerfeller, and here we have it. And it won't go away for the meantime, and it has, let's face it, it has the support of the populace, where the populace also believe in Newtonian way of seeing the world. I took that antibiotic and my cough went away. I was given morphine to treat the pain of my, I don't know, renal colic, kidney stones, and the pain went away. My own experience, cough, and that's those two examples of my experience. I broke my thumb pre-Christmas last year. Thank God. Thank you, allopathic medicine. And that's where it is. Allopathic medicine is trauma care, emergency medicine, and preventing premature death of a birthing process of our children. And that, I applaud the mainstream healthcare complex, the allopathic healthcare complex, that they've reduced infant mortality by 95%. And this is why that allopathic medicine can't contribute to an even more increase in life expectancies, because the heavy lifting, the low-hanging fruit of the statistical way that life expectancy is calculated, statistics just fix that in doubling our life expectancy from 40, 45 back when Rockerfeller did the Flexner report to effectively nearly doubling our life expectancy in some ways through emergency care and antibiotics have saved many a life, but we could be saving more. So the easy pickings of the stats got our life expectancy up, but this is where the kicker is. This is what we need to understand. When the Flexner report was done, around that time there was 25 out of every 10,000 people that reached the age of 100, even though our life expectancy was 40, 45. How does that work? Yes, that's right. It's the infant mortality rate was quite high back then. Thank goodness for sterile technique and understanding bacteria and all that sort of thing. Great. Thank you, allopathic medicine. But allopathic medicine is shite when it comes to chronic disease, autoimmune disease, obesity. Now, the mainstream healthcare complex, the allopaths are incorporating genetic genes. Oh, it's in your genes. It's not my responsibility. Give me the $200 or whatever. That's how much they charge for 6 minutes. That's pretty much the going rate. Every 6 minutes, $200. That's how much it's costing your government or costing you. And if there was even a copay, you wait for doctor's visits to drop off a cliff. But anyway, that's one unintended lie, and the main one which I wanted to bring up. Many have touted, flouted, put the notion forward, the hypothesis forward, and all that the Flexner report was like a hostile takeover. But it wasn't too hostile in my opinion, because all Rockerfeller wanted is a legacy. And he favoured the allopaths because, hey, the Newtonian way of seeing the world led to the discovery of all his oil production and whatnot. And hey, the allopaths are scientific. You can see bacteria. You can see the instant relief of lignocaine. Take a tooth out, chop that limb off. He didn't scream. All that sort of thing. And it's only until recent times, 70s, 80s, where any exposure to a hospital didn't prematurely kill you. But the way those figures are done, US stats suggest that iatrogenic causes of death, which is doctor or medical error, is number 3 or 4 on the mortality contributor of our populace. Depending on how you calculate it, it might be even first, because let's face it, if someone's suffering a heart attack and then, hey, heart disease, right? Which is the leading cause, and then cancer, the overzealous use of chemotherapy, I don't know. I'm just putting it out there, which many people do put out there, is prematurely killing us. Elderly people eagerly being put on morphine. Oh, they're in pain. How do you know they're in pain? They can't communicate. Oh, well, they shift around in their sleep. How do you know that's pain? Like, premature, you know? So I've hijacked the unintended lies on the Flexner report. This is where most of the mainstream healthcare complex naysayers fixate on. And it looks like I've fixated on in some ways, but not like they do. It's not that hostile, it was unintended. When a billionaire starts to plow money into a particular thing, it's going to move people and things in that direction. There you go. The takeover happened by physics, by mentioning Newton. You put enough resources into something, interest will follow. Schools will kick out the naturopaths and the herbalists and the chiropractors. Bingo bongo, medicine. The allopaths are medicine. It's like saying, I'm science. So even that's unintended. That was a little bit clumsy by the science statements of recent leanings. I don't want to have this banned. I haven't cared in the past, but I think this should be here for posterity. This sort of content. So I'm becoming a bit more responsible in delivering my diatribe. Maybe that's been some of the feedback. The whole idea, well, this is still managing disease and the Flexner report and allopaths, where there was this whole terminology, this whole idea where if you can't see something happening in health, that you're a quack. It was a sort of, like, quack was a colloquial, much used term back ages ago, even pre 20th century, where you're just a charlatan. That's another word they used, and snake oil salesman. We used those sort of terms often now, but that was much more often used back then. And there was even, I think in the 70s, there was Quack Watch, started by four, I was going to say magicians, 4 MDs. I think only one is still alive, and they were always at loggerheads with Dr. Joel Wallach, where I stumble upon, and most of my Health 44, what I prescribe here and advocate for. I'll say what Health 44 is for those one-off listeners. A great majority are. There's only 2.2 regular listeners. I don't care. It's getting out there. This content is getting out there. Yeah, so Quack is still being used, but not as much. We also have the thrust, the help by the general populace that the mainstream healthcare complex, the allopaths, medicine is medicine. There's nothing else. Naturopath, what? Chiropractor, they're quacks. And so the allopaths have a lovely way to thrust forward their authority because of the instant nature of allopathic medicine. Chop off a leg, I didn't feel it, great. Pull out a tooth, I didn't feel it, great. My cough is gone by getting these corticosteroids and antibiotics, pre and post surgery. Antibiotics are also given prophylactically. So, before a particular procedure and whatnot as well. And it's not the best way to use antibiotics, but we've used it, and we've got downstream effects, don't we? So I said I wasn't going to fixate on the whole struggle of allopathic medicine becoming the go-to of medicine, but it ended up being that way. And I'll start to roll off the other side of the hill and into a bit more of a climax. We perhaps forget of the recent pandemic where there was errors made, people panicked. We were fixated on this whole idea that there's going to be a particular bug that will kill half of humanity and that sort of thing, and through movies and stories and apocalyptic type of entertainment content, we thought we've arrived. But perhaps humanity is better than that. Perhaps, the whole idea of bubonic plague that occurred, and that's all, and plagues throughout biblical history at least, they were all type of pandemics. And hey, there's people dropping, therefore it's a pandemic. Yes, people were dropping, but we've got so many numbers of people in the world these days. The whole 8 billion that we reference. Whatever we chuck into the populace, if we say someone that held their tongue like that they'll die within 12 months. And if you're 85 years old and do your tongue like that and you die, it's the people that did their tongue like that. And who died the most in the recent pandemic? It was the more senior age categories. So I'm not going to poo-poo on any jabs. I've got a whole episode on a third category of pro-vax, anti-vax. I call it AVAX. AVAXer, yeah. So check out that episode. A third category, something like that. The episode is called, I don't know, 100 or 200th episode, in there somewhere. That's still a big range, isn't it? But for those that are busting. And by saying that, you could see all the other episode titles, eh? So just quickly for the one-off listeners, what I advocate for here, I would fit in the naturopath theory of medicine. Certainly not qualified, and I wouldn't do it because I'll earn even less than I am now by doing that, the way healthcare is set up. But I'll practice what I preach. I experiment what I preach, experiment further on what I preach, and I'm trying to break this whole Health 44, and that hasn't happened. For about 6,000 hours, probably 6,000 hours I've spent trying to break the prior 9,000 hours I spent on discovering the whole micronutrients complex. And this is the Health 44 relating to that. The first for the 44 in the Health 44 is take away, eliminate. It's an elimination diet. 90+% of the supermarket. No gluten, oils, sugars, nitrates, nitrites. Add in the 4 categories of micronutrients, which makes up 90 declared essential micronutrients. 60 of them are minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 essential fatty acids. Within a short time, even longer than allopathic medicine, I'm afraid, your health will improve and be sorted. Like for me, effectively nearly halving my body weight. Yes, that was a big one. Half a dozen other ailments, including the whole metabolic syndrome complex, osteo issues, carpal tunnel, shoulder, frozen shoulder, all these particular type of things. And whatever your chronic disease, if you have autoimmune diseases, there's about 600, 800 different diseases which can be eliminated by understanding micronutrients. Because the reason why I mentioned 600, 800 diseases, because diseases the World Health Organization suggests there's 84,000 diseases. That's how many codes they've got. Even with the last pandemic, there's 2 codes with that. So quickly multiplies all these diseases. Even school refusal is considered a disease. So and some of the Beauchamp terrain theory practitioners, followers, terrain theory followers of health, where Beauchamp was the advocator or the initiator of that way of seeing health. It could be just one disease, which is blood acidity or alkalinity. Yeah, because apparently, what's the level? If your blood level is too far over 7.38 pH, you're dead, and too far under 7.38, you're dead also. So acidosis, something. I think it's one of those diseases. Anyway, so that could be another unintended lie. There's this biblical Jesus-y type quote where don't worry about that idiot. It's not verbatim, right? They just don't know. They just I'll try and get closer to the mark. But no, I'm not going to try. So yeah, don't worry about them. They don't know. They're just ignorant type thing. That sort of biblical quote. And yeah, that's probably the case with the terrain theory people, maybe even the germ theory people. Ooh, oh, and maybe even me. But I can't break the Health 44, right? So there you go. There's one-off listeners and viewers. So and yes, it's become a poo-pooing of the allopathic medical model. It's economically driven by government policy, because government policy is influenced by the authority of the mainstream healthcare complex, the allopaths, and Joe and Mary, public, they push it by saying, well, that's just medicine. The authority of the stethoscope and the coat and the airtime they're given on mainstream media, that's all that Joe and Mary public respect, versus the poo-pooing and this person is in jail because they sold this light treatment thing, and this herbal thing was given to this cancer patient and they died. Well, what if they died from too much chemo? I don't know. Yes, the unintended consequences, the risks versus benefit of certain treatments. Yes, it is a thing, but that's the thing. We just focus on treatment of something that ails us, what disease we get. What about preventing the particular diseases? Oh, you can't prevent disease, it just happens. It's genetic, don't you know? See how responsibility is just taken away from us and offloaded off the allopaths. It's all our fault. And we have insurance. I've mentioned quite a few times in this podcast series that we understand how to effectively eliminate birth defects in our production animals through the veterinary science, but we don't apply it to humans because humans have allopaths and insurance. an economic model which supports the allopaths. And because we got saved from the gunshot, and we had this particular heart attack, and we got given adrenaline, and we survived, the mainstream healthcare complex, the allopaths, get all this credibility. But how about preventing the heart attack in the first place through the micronutrients? My last episode was with the heart attack type thing, heart disease. Selenium, vitamin E deficiency will give you many a heart ailment, together with osteoporosis, which many people do have, and not unknowingly, because you've got to be a 60-year-old woman at least to get osteoporosis, right? But you could be born with osteoporosis, and many more children will be born with those elderly diseases. Many more younger mothers are giving birth to Down syndrome children. That's why there's no stigma of the older mother anymore. It's happening to teenage pregnancies now as well. So, just to whet some more appetite on unintended lies, I mentioned the recent pandemic, how the management wasn't the best. Hey, we didn't know. We were doing the best we could at the time, which is the famous saying of child abusing parents. We did the best we could at the time. Nice excuses. It's not allowed to, you're not allowed to mention too much on cancer, but many would say that don't get it in the first place by eating right and taking the micronutrients. And the reason why those micronutrients are essential is because we can't make them. Even though vitamin D we can make by the whole sunlight complex, you need to synthesize it, which is the whole mineral complex. Okay, so you could be taking vitamin D. This is another little unintended lie. You might take vitamin D, 5,000 international units, or however it's calculated in your country, but you may not absorb it. If you do absorb it, it might be 1%, 5%. So you need the minerals as well as cofactors to make it all work. And cholesterol is essential. I've got whole episodes on cholesterol. And salt. A lot of added salt is important, because without salt, never mind your apple cider vinegar, your sauerkraut, and your fermented foods to improve the microbiome of your gastric juices. Yes, we have a microbiome from mouth to other end, but in the gastric juice particular part, our acidity level must be very, very low for optimum digestion and absorption of our micronutrients. I'm starting to believe that the whole idea of healthy microbiome in our gastric juices isn't a thing. If you have microbiome in your gastric juices, why is stuff living down there? We need to be eliminating the food down there. And yes, just before it gets to the gastric juices, you got that process, you got the process just after and all that sort of thing. Then you have the villi to absorb your micronutrients. Right. Which is also another microbiome thing. But if you aim for 1.0 pH level of your gastric juices, nothing should be living. Nothing should be living. It's just pulverized and it passes through, and then the micronutrients are sorted. With the greatest absorption of the micronutrients is the villi in the small intestine, and that's damaged by gluten intake. You can have gluten intake, which I've mentioned in the past, but only 2% of the population could probably manage 1.0 pH level. Anyway, so the whole, I've mentioned in recent episodes, seed oils, processed foods, that's all contributing to our ill health and that sort of thing. But 80%, 90%, is it 99%? It's the micronutrients. Oh, it's the mold. Is that a 5%, 1%, 20%? Most of it will be still micronutrients. I'm one of the subjects. I like to include subjects that have benefited, but there's plenty out there. None in my circle would like to put their heads on a camera. It probably wouldn't look so great because they're private people and they don't present more confident as I do. So if you're saying that what I do is just me and it won't work for everybody, well, it will work for everybody. It will, because we're each unique. So we humans as a species are different from all those cows as a species in the paddock. They eat the same grass, the same salt block they lick because they need to lick it because there's not enough micronutrients in the soil anymore, and the bacteria they get out of the soil, which gives them their protein. Yes, the vegan people out there that think that cows and bullocks and deer, look how strong they are, and they're vegans, right? But bacteria that comes out of the roots, the soil, the grass that they eat, these animals are ruminants, they call them, and the reason why they have all those stomachs is because one part of digestion, next part of digestion, and then there's a bacteria that goes into another space. I don't know how it works, but the bacteria gives these animals their protein. So all vertebrates need protein. All vertebrates need 90 essential micronutrients. So there's some other little unintended lies that people throw around. This whole idea that there's this whole longevity science that's thrust in the last few years, and we always think that we're going to increase our life expectancy by a few years, for every 10 years, 1 year more, all that sort of thing. Someone born in this 2024 should live 125 years. What? No. If micronutrients aren't part of that equation, we won't be living past 70. We might be starting to bury our children after 2050. That's how bad our soils are getting if we don't supplement. If you're an athlete, please supplement how I advocate we need to supplement. Eliminate 90+% of the supermarket. Okay, so without getting too long, I'll end it there. I hijacked it with the Flexner report, a few little food for thought items in there. Thanks for your interest. Bye-bye. See you next time.